Hey everyone, welcome back to Bathing Dangerous. Today we're switching it up a little bit. We are going to be talking about a Little Nightmares 2 review. So we're just going to quickly go through a bunch of different topics that deal with Little Nightmares 2, and at the end we will each give our opinion on if we think it is worthy of buying or if it should just be kind of a YouTube type of game that you watch in your free time. So, what did you think about the gameplay of Little Nightmares 2?
So I thought the gameplay looked all right. I thought it was like interesting enough. It seemed fun. It just seemed like there was a lot of kind of frustrations when it came to the camera perspective and kind of like making jumps and your movement speed.
Right. Yeah, I mean, playing it, I was the one playing it, so you were kind of the viewer in that situation. It was definitely like smooth, like everything reacted nicely.
hmm
The running scenes were good, the hanging on stuff, the grabbing each other's hands, all the different tiny little things that they
Right.
put into the game. I mean, it all felt smooth, so it was never janky or anything.
That's fair. I
Yeah.
don't know. It was just like I feel like there's no gameplay hook to it, you know?
Right. And that probably gets into like the story aspect of Little Nightmares too. And maybe it's because we both haven't played Little Nightmares, so we didn't even realize at the start that Shania, the one that we rescue in the hunter's house, I guess we didn't even make the connection that she was actually the main character from the original game, which could
And
have. Sorry.
apparently this is a prequel to the first one. I
Oh,
didn't know that either.
really?
Yeah.
Okay. See, I didn't know that at all. So
Yeah.
okay, so then maybe I'll just go back by myself at some point and play the first one just to see what happens to Shania, because that actually makes me maybe even more intrigued as to if Shania is actually like a good protagonist or like the antagonist of the story. Because
Right.
at the
Like
end,
what happens
yeah, like
with her.
yeah, why? Well, yeah, now I'm curious. So that's kind of cool that it actually is the pre. Plus, then maybe in the original, maybe there's like callbacks to some of the monsters, or like the portraits on the
Right.
wall and stuff like that. Maybe you get a little more of a story as far. Maybe the teacher is in the first. No, probably not. Probably not
I
though.
think I I think you're giving this game more credit than it deserves, honestly.
The lore, the background. I've seen on YouTube a ton of like Little Nightmares 2 lore, and they're like hour-long videos. So I think there are like some, or maybe it's just people making up their own opinions on like what the.
Well, so like on that note, what do you think about how did you feel about the story or the lore of the world?
I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I mean, I just took it as like almost, I don't know, like a fairy tale that you kind of are going through by yourself, and it's just a bunch of random locations thrown one after the other. But like from the start, when you start off in the woods, and then you get on that door and you like sail across
Right.
the sea, and then you're in that sketchy ass town.
hmm
Like there's no, I didn't know what the hell. I thought we were just going from house to house like in a city. So
Right.
there was no story for me aside from that door that kept showing up in our nightmare or our vision or whatever. And then I guess near the end of the game you start to put together your own story, I guess, of like who you are and who Shania is.
Right.
So, but yeah, what did you think of it?
It I I don't know what to think. I kind of think like I think my issue with Little Nightmares is I think it's kind of a jack of all trades but master of none.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's kind of got these three parts of like gameplay or like puzzles,
Hmm.
which like it's engaging with, but it's not like there was no puzzles that were most of them weren't really puzzles. It was a lot of like you need to do this to proceed. It wasn't
Yeah.
like solve this. Then there was like the horror, the tension elements, like people chasing after you.
Right.
That didn't do much for me either. And then there was kind of like the story and world. And so I felt like those three things, they were all good, and I'm happy I saw it. But I also don't think that like, I think that for some people that's going to hit, and some people are really going to enjoy playing through it in the world. But for me, I was kind of I don't think any of the elements were strong enough for me to be like, oh, what's going on in this world? What's the story here? Why, like, who are these characters?
Right. I think yeah, and I think some people probably like the fact that there is no story. Almost like you just go
Hmm.
right into the game. You see that little vision, and then you're in the forest, and you're just going. And maybe they like that like environment, atmosphere type aspect of this game. But for me, anyways, and I think for you as well, we kind of like more of a story centered game. Right?
Absolutely.
All right, so then
Or
move.
or like to earn, like I think that that story was pretty light, like not heavy-handed.
Yeah,
Like you had to, they wanted you to read into it and they wanted you to figure it out, and I don't
yeah.
think that it kind of earned that level of attention.
Maybe if they had like in some games there's like journals on the ground and you open it and then some old man
Sure.
starts talking like back in the day. Like if they had that type of shit for every
Some world
single
building.
yeah, you get like some journals from the hunter and then some journals from the teacher and maybe you like hear about her first year of teaching and how excited she is and then you find a journal from like 15 years later and she's eating kids. Who
See,
knows?
I'm almost wondering like if they didn't, there wasn't something in development or something, because I feel like fighting those first three bosses, the hunter, the teacher, that big fat guy, that to me was a different game than
uh,
when we started going into the TV and the Thin Man.
Yeah, it took a turn for sure. Like that last hour was almost, I don't know, I was like disengaging at the point where we were walking through all those fucking doors every
Right.
2 seconds. I just was not feeling that at all. I think they could have done something way better. Like the teacher like kept you hooked and then at the end where Shania has grown to like this big crippled
Yeah.
monster, I think you could have done something better than just figuring out like the code to walk up to her and hit the crock pot over and over again.
Uh,
I think there's something else you could have done there.
I think I would have just preferred five of those individual bosses with different worlds.
Yeah,
Like, I think the teacher was probably the high point of the game for me.
yeah, pretty creepy, for sure. All those little tiny dolls, the
The
students.
porcelain little Pinocchio dolls.
All right, so moving on from that, what did you think about the visual aspect of the game, the environment, the atmosphere? I thought it was probably the strongest point of the game.
Yeah. I mean, they went for it. I think that, like, and I think that's the thing with the game, right? It might not be your personal taste, but
Yeah,
you got to admit, like, they go for it. And I think the visuals look really well done, and they clearly put a lot of time and effort into it.
yeah. There's so much detail in the worlds, just like even down to like the shoes, and in the background you'd see like the clothing of people just hanging
Yeah.
on like lines in the rain, and all the sorts of different toys, and the light shining through, and the wind
And, like,
blowing.
cool
And,
backgrounds.
yeah,
Like, even places you would never go, we would be able to go. Just cool stuff stretching off in the distance.
yeah. So that's one good thing. Like every time we'd move on from one boss, I would be excited to see what the next like environment was going to be
Hmm.
and what was going to end up happening in that environment. So that was a strong point. And then as far as like structure and pacing, what did you think of that?
It was kind of strange. I think that that's kind of what I'm getting at with like that ending being strange. I think that
Hmm.
it would be kind of, I think it almost has aspirations that are too large for it. Like I would more prefer five bosses, maybe
Hmm.
like an hour apiece, and maybe the last boss is just like a real stressful big crescendo, but don't try and like wrap it up in this big world. Just kind of pace it out evenly of like, you beat this person, now you go on to the next one.
Right. Do you think it was the right amount of hours for this type of game to be around like 4.5, 5 hours, or do you think they should have even cut it a little shorter or longer?
That's a good question. Like, I think that it really comes down to how much frustration there is. Like, I
Yeah.
don't, you were the one playing. Like, did you,
Right.
I feel like there were some times where we got to stages where, like, you died a bunch of times. And even,
Yeah.
like, sometimes you died before even knowing what you were going to do to succeed, if that makes sense. Like, you
Yeah.
died and still had to learn.
Yeah. I'm glad that they were pretty forgiving when it came to checkpoints, like where you were actually placed in the
Hmm.
world. But there were those few times where, like, I can remember that mannequin aspect where you had to run through that dark room and get
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
other
yeah.
side. And then every time they catch you, you go all the way back to the start. Um, But yeah, I think for the most part, I think it was decently paced again until the end when I just was not having fun with those door
Those
puzzles.
doors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they're not even puzzles really. Like it's just kind of I don't
Yeah,
know.
that was odd.
Yeah, it seemed like it was just filler by that point, and they ran out of ideas or something. I don't know.
Absolutely.
All right, so then we got all the gameplay, the visuals, the structure, the pacing. When it comes to the price, it's about $33 on Steam right now, and the length of the actual game is around 4 to 5 hours, depending on if you're going for all the unlockables or not. Then I'm sure it would take you a little longer. And I guess there is a secret hidden ending to the game. Now, I don't know what it is, and I don't think you just looked it up, so we don't know what
I
it
didn't
is.
read what it was. I just kind of read stuff, people talking about the ending, their thoughts. But
Right, and so
I I
go
don't know
on.
about you, but I would have no interest to fire that game back up and be like even if you had a guide telling you what to do,
No,
doing that 4 or 5 hours again
no,
is a big ask.
I think it's a one time thing for me. So then when it comes down to just your rating, 1 out of 10, one being absolute dog shit and 10 being an incredible masterpiece, and then putting into account the pricing and the length, do you think this game is buy worthy or YouTube watch on a Friday night worthy?
So many different metrics.
Yeah.
How many thumbs up? Um, I feel like it's like a 7 out of 10, but I
Right.
almost feel like to me it's more disappointing because everything is competently done, and so
Mhm.
it kind of bums me out that it wasn't like amazing because it was all pretty well done. I think for sure there are people out there who I can understand. I can see Little Nightmares and see I absolutely get why you love this, but for me, like that's a big price for that amount of game.
Yeah, it's a big
I
boy
think that
price.
I think that it's well made. The people who made it, by no means is this a rip off. They did a good job. There's craftsmanship there.
Mhm.
But to me, like, I think if you got this on sale for $10,
Yeah.
that would be a really enjoyable 4 or 5 hours. I
Hmm.
think at its current price, that's a tough ask. And I think that really like you're talking about Little Nightmares 1, I would be inclined to go on YouTube and watch a playthrough. I don't think I would be inclined to pay full price for that. What
Yeah.
about yourself?
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat. I mean, I don't think I'm going to play it again. I probably will go on YouTube and look up Little Nightmares to see like the story there and what happens with Shania, as we've been known to call her, even though I think her name is like, I looked
It's
up,
like 0.
yeah, or Mono or something. Or maybe,
Yes, yes,
yeah,
mono.
is it Mono? Or maybe the character we played as was Mono. But, anyways, one or the other, there's another one in Six. I think Six is the other one.
6 is the character we played as,
Oh, okay.
and mono
See, and
is Shania.
how the fuck would you even find out that your name is
I
Six? Like
I this is
that's why we just came up with Little E and Shania. But I'm curious to see, like, did they have to go onto the like developer website and there's a
I
description of the
don't
game
know.
like you play as Six, a little kid struggling to blah blah blah, or like did or are there things in the world that we just did not find that were telling us like where we
I
came
don't
from?
know.
Yeah. Anyways, for the price of 30, I definitely wouldn't pay full price for it again or anything like that. I think if it was on sale for like a Christmas or an Easter or something like that, and it was 15, $10, I would definitely grab it. Just, I don't know. It's a good, like, put your headphones on, strap in, and you could play through that bad boy in one night and get really invested into the four
Yeah.
or 5 hours and have a good time. I'd probably give it like a 7.5, like you said. Super creative. The environments are really nice, right? They're really unique. You don't see
Yeah.
a lot of that type of thing, especially it's so well made. The sounds are good, especially with headphones on. Gameplay, it's really smooth. But yeah, I would say 7.5, and I would just a little too pricey for, I don't know, the experience, but that's
Yeah.
just my
I feel like
opinion.
for us personally, it's a tough sell, but I think there's someone out there that this is going to be your game of the year. You're going to really enjoy playing this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, if you
I don't have
agree
to
with
swear
us,
about it, all right?
if you agree with us or disagree, please leave it in the comments below. And even you could tell us maybe if you know the lore behind Little Nightmares. How the hell did people find out that the main character's name was Six and Mono?
Please let us know how ill-informed, how ignorant we
Yeah,
are.
how ignorant we are. Thank you for joining us on this review. A 7 and a 7.5 for Little Nightmares 2 and a YouTube watch recommendation. We will see you again in the next video. Have a good day or night.